Power doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't always stand behind podiums or wear tailored suits. Sometimes it hides behind handshakes, dinner meetings, and perfectly worded press releases. What we see on the surface, the speeches, the promises, the political campaigns, that's not the real game. That's the performance. The real game plays out far away from the cameras, in quiet boardrooms and behind closed doors, where money talks louder than any voter ever could. World politics isn't just about ideology. It's about influence. And the truth is, the richest people on the planet aren't just watching it happen. They're controlling it. But here's the clever part. They don't have to hold office. They don't need to appear on ballots. They simply fund the people who do. That's the true face of modern power. Invisible, untouchable, and deeply calculated. Politics was meant to serve people, to bring justice, equality, and progress. But somewhere along the way, it became a business. The kind of business where your success depends on how much you can afford to spend, not how much you care. Money doesn't just influence politics. It fuels it. Let's talk about lobbying for a second. It sounds technical, but it's basically legalized persuasion. Corporations spend billions hiring experts who make sure laws work in their favor. Whether it's cutting taxes, relaxing labor laws, or pushing environmental loopholes, there's always someone being paid to make sure the system bends just enough. And the results are everywhere. Oil companies thrive while the planet heats up. Defense industries profit while wars drag on. Tech giants collect our data and somehow convince lawmakers to look the other way. It's not coincidence, it's business. Think about it. Every global event that seems political on the outside usually has a financial story underneath it. Wars create defense contracts. Pandemics fuel pharmaceutical profits. Even climate summits turn into showcases for billion-dollar green startups. Behind every noble goal, someone's counting the revenue. And this isn't new. History is filled with moments where money shaped nations more than ideals ever did. After World War II, rebuilding Europe wasn't just about compassion. It was about creating markets for American industries. During the Cold War, foreign aid often had strings attached. Support us politically, and we'll support you financially. And even today, the countries that seem to help others often expect loyalty in return. Power disguised as generosity. Now, here's where it gets darker. The truly rich, the ones you never see in headlines, don't play in one country's politics. They operate globally. They fund think tanks that influence how policies are written. They own media outlets that control what we see and hear. And they invest in technology platforms that shape what we think. That's not democracy. That's design. If you follow the money long enough, you start to realize how tightly woven it all is. The billionaire who donates to a campaign might also own the company that benefits from new trade deals. The politician who passes a regulation might later join the same corporation's board. It's a revolving door. And the public is always the last to know. It's easy to blame corruption, but this isn't even corruption anymore. It's the system functioning exactly as intended. Power doesn't need to break the rules when it can write them. Even philanthropy, which looks pure and selfless on the surface, plays a role. Billionaires give away fortunes, and yes, some of that money does real good. But big donations also buy influence. They shape education systems, health priorities, and public perception. They get to decide which causes are important and which ones can wait. And when one person's vision of the world becomes the one everyone else has to live in, that's not charity, that's control. Let's take an example. Global health initiatives often depend on private foundations for funding. That means a handful of wealthy individuals decide how billions are spent, which diseases get attention, and which countries receive aid. Governments follow their lead because they have no choice. The money shapes the mission, and when that happens, democracy, the idea that the public decides, quietly disappears. Even the way we consume information is now under elite influence. Major media networks are owned by a handful of corporations. What you read, what you watch, what you think is breaking news, all of it filters through invisible hands that decide what's worth knowing. Control the narrative, control the world. And when you add social media into the mix, the game changes entirely. The richest companies on Earth now own the platforms where we share our thoughts, where movements are born, and where outrage spreads. Algorithms decide what goes viral and what vanishes. Attention becomes currency. You don't have to silence people when you can distract them. That's how modern control works. It's quiet, invisible, and effective. But here's the irony. None of this is illegal. The offshore accounts, the tax loopholes, the hidden assets, all of it is legal because the people benefiting from it designed the rules themselves. A billionaire can register a company in one country, pay taxes in another, and control markets in a third. Try to trace that. and you'll find yourself lost in a maze built to stay confusing. It's not crime, it's strategy. And every time governments promise crackdowns on corruption or offshore wealth, it's usually a show. Because at the end of the day, the people writing those policies are part of the same machine. That's why no matter how many protests, petitions, or reforms we see, nothing really changes at the top. The faces might, the slogans might, but the game remains the same. And the most powerful move in that game is distraction. Keep people arguing about culture, identity, and ideology, while the real transactions happen quietly in the background. The fight isn't left versus right anymore. It's rich versus everyone else. It's not about nationalism or globalism. It's about who profits from both. And maybe that's the hardest truth to accept, that the system we call democracy has been quietly remodeled into something else, something that looks like freedom but runs on dependency. Countries depend on foreign investors, politicians depend on donors, and people depend on systems they have no control over. That's the brilliance of modern power. It doesn't force obedience. It manufactures it, and it's everywhere. From the price of your groceries to the wars you see on TV, to the tech products you can't live without, there's always someone higher up counting the gains. Even humanitarian crises are turned into opportunities. Reconstruction projects, refugee programs, and infrastructure loans all create ways for private corporations to make billions. There's profit in pain. Always has been. But it's not all hopeless. Because the first step toward breaking this pattern is seeing it clearly. People today are more aware than ever. Information travels faster. Whistleblowers, independent journalists, and researchers are exposing what used to stay hidden. The younger generation questions everything. They don't blindly trust institutions. They follow the money. And that's what terrifies those in power the most. Because awareness breaks illusion. Once you see the strings, the puppet show loses its magic. Still, changing the system isn't easy. The world's richest aren't just individuals, they're institutions. Networks of power that protect each other across countries and industries. But cracks are forming. You can see it in how people are beginning to talk, how voters are challenging traditional parties, how workers are organizing globally, how citizens are demanding accountability from both governments and corporations. It's slow, but it's happening, because at the end of the day, money can buy almost everything, except trust. And once that trust is gone, even the most powerful systems start to shake. The question is, will we wait for that collapse, or will we rebuild something fairer before it's too late? Because if history teaches us anything, it's that every empire built on inequality eventually falls. The rich may win the rounds, but the people always win the ending, once they realize they're playing the wrong game. And maybe that's the lesson hiding behind all this chaos. Power doesn't just belong to those with the most money. It belongs to those who understand how it's being used. So maybe the next step isn't to hate the rich or blame the politicians. Maybe it's to understand the mechanics, to see how systems are designed, to refuse to play blind. Because once you understand the game, you can change how it's played. So, what do you think? Do you believe power still belongs to the people? Or has the game already been won by the few? Drop your thoughts below, because the more we talk about it, the harder it becomes for silence to win.